Hello and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast. I am your host, Fabrice Nye, and joining me here in the Murrieta studios is Dr. David Burns. Hi, David.
Hi, Fabrice.
Dr. David Burns has been a pioneer in the development of cognitive therapy, and he is the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 20 languages. He is an emeritus adjunct clinical professor of psychiatry at the Stanford University School of Medicine. Welcome to episode 73 of the Feeling Good podcast. And today we have another of the popular Ask David. I'm asking you, David, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, and I want to tell everyone that I'm welcoming Fabrice back from, we haven't gotten together for about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. You have,
of course, people don't know that because they've been getting the episodes every Monday morning,
Absolutely.
All fresh. But we recorded a bunch before I left for a trip.
Yeah, but it was, Fabrice, I understand you had several fabulous weeks in New Zealand and wonderful adventures there, and it's just great to see you again.
Yeah, it was terrific. So while I was gone, a lot of our podcast on the 5 secrets were being published, and you've gotten a lot of questions, very good questions from listeners about the 5 secrets.
Oh, also, and let me say that our audience seems to be growing, and please help us out by telling your friends if you like these podcasts and you have friends who are struggling with depression or anxiety or relationship issues, turn them on to the Feeling Good podcast. I know my Tuesday training group at Stanford had the largest attendance this last week that we've ever had. It's usually fairly small, but we had 40 folks there for the 2.5 hours, and many of them were newcomers who came because of the Feeling Good podcast.
That's amazing.
And I've been getting, tons of emails. Sadly, if I'm slow getting back to any of you, I've been trying hard every day to catch up on emails, but I'm still something like 850 behind. And in a good day, I'll answer 30, and then 60 more come in, or 100 more come in. So, but it's great to see all the enthusiasm of so many folks.
You're going to need a secretary now.
Yeah.
Just to read your email.
That's right. And I'll also say, by way of preview, today we're going to answer a number of the questions that came in based on the 5 secrets, the 5 weeks we have on the 5 secrets. And then we're going to have 5 topics, 5 weeks, maybe a bit more on I'm not sure what I'll title it, but it'll be something like 5 secrets of happiness. And there'll be 5 specific things that you can do to lift your mood and to increase your joy and pleasure and satisfaction and in your daily living. And in one of those will be on. We're going to find someone with an actual relationship problem. One of those 5 things you can do to boost your mood is to improve a troubled relationship with someone. And we're going to try to find someone so we could do another live therapy broadcast, but this one on the issue of relationship problems. So those are all things we're excited about and looking forward to. We've got tons of ideas and just want to thank all of you for your warm and enthusiastic participation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that live session because I've been wanting to do that kind of work on the air. Yeah. So let's move on to the questions from our listeners. So here we have something from Ellie, who says, "Thank you a lot for your podcast. I tried the first homework yesterday, and so that was, I believe, on the disarming technique. And you may want to remind us what homework you gave during that podcast episode."
We were asking actually for all 5 of them to try one of the 5 secrets with strangers,
one at a time,
in kind of superficial situations, just to get a feel for how that technique works. And the disarming technique, by definition, is about finding truth in someone, what someone is saying, and you can use it in a real conflict situation when someone's criticizing you, and where you have to combine it with the other 5 secrets to give a good, natural, effective response.
Yeah.
But the assignment was just to do it with strangers. So if someone says something to you like agree with 5 people every day about something, someone says something like, "Wow, it's beautiful weather we're having," or like today they might say, "Oh gosh, it's a little overcast here, a little raining," and you could say, "Yeah," and it's you're absolutely right. It's great. I hope we get more rain because we've had so much drought here in California.
Right.
I was kind of overjoyed to see we got some rain last night. I sure hope it continues. Something like that, just so you can see this is what the disarming technique is.
So that was the assignment, and so here's what Ellie says. She says, or he says. So I tried the first homework yesterday of this podcast with my brothers and my wife, which was to accept what the other person is saying. So each time they were saying something, I agreed with them and I told them, "You're right." They were frustrated of my way, and some of my brothers began laughing at me. One of them told me some naughty words, and then he said, "Well, show me how you will agree with that."
Yeah.
And then my wife wanted to go to sleep as I was accepting all she was saying, and she was frustrated. Another example, let's say my manager told me, "It's not right what you did here, you should know this." Then if I agree with him here without giving the right argument and clarification, I'm sure he will escalate by telling the bigger manager. I told Eli, and he accepted, and then he disappointed us. But if I defend myself with the right argument, he can't. So please give me your input on these previous points. It will be very important to me, so I will be on the right track in my practice to use these techniques. I think Eli is a man.
Let me just spell here.
E-L-I-E.
Oh yeah, Eli maybe.
Eli maybe, yeah.
Eli. Well, thank you, Eli. I greatly appreciate your question, and it raises a whole bunch of important points here. The first thing is that to use the 5 secrets in an actual conflict situation, it needs a lot of practice, and you have to be integrating all of the techniques. When you just use one technique in a kind of formulaic way, it will come across as very irritating and abnormal to the other person. The assignment I gave was kind of like practicing on the piano with exercises to learn how to play the different keys, like when you're first taking piano lessons. But then if you had to give a recital, an actual recital to show off your piano skills, and you just started hitting one key with one finger, the audience would get angry and walk out. And that's the similar kind of thing that happened here.
And it sounds like what was irritating was that Eli was doing the same thing with the same person over and over. It's like, enough already.
Yeah,
as opposed to practicing here and there with strangers.
Exactly. And so the exercise with strangers is just, here's what the disarming technique is. You can do that one day or for a week practice it, and here's what thought empathy is, here's what feeling empathy is. So you get a feel for what the different techniques are, but then you need to learn to integrate them kind of smoothly in a genuine way. It's really learning the 5 secrets and doing it in conflict situations is something that takes a tremendous amount of time. The results are fantastic in my experience. We had a fellow return to the Tuesday group who has been a long time member and an older gentleman, but he just loves the 5 secrets. He's actually not a mental health professional, but a health professional in a medical area. Mm-hmm. And he's actually formed a group with his friends that they practice the five secrets.
Oh, excellent.
And he said he's been working at it for years now, and he's just now beginning to grasp it and to be able to implement it in a really skillful way. So one other important thing about your question here, Ellie or we'll mention it with some of the other questions too, is a great way to ask questions about the 5 secrets, is to write down one thing the other person said that didn't work well, and then write down exactly what you said next. And then if you send that to us, we can show you, and we can do this with one of the other questions people wrote in, exactly why your response was not effective.
Yeah.
And then we can say, here's what you would need to do to make it more effective. And then we can role play it and kind of show you how to do it.
That's a really good point, because we work best in specificity.
Yeah.
And some people did send the actual text of what they said, what the other person said. And so that helps us really give a much better response.
The last thing I want to mention to Eli or Ellie or whatever, however you pronounce your name, is more power to you in giving it the try. And I think in some of the previous podcasts, I've given examples when I was first learning it that backfired tremendously, like the gas station story. And so if you can have the idea of failing joyously, then you can learn tremendously from your failures. But it is a high art form, and you should anticipate it. It'll take you a while. And one last thing. If you get my book, Feeling Good Together, and read it and do the written exercises, that will help you tremendously as well if you really want to learn how to do this.
That is definitely the manual for the 5 secrets. Yeah. Now, there was a follow-up question in Ely's email about when the boss comes with a complaint and if he agrees with it right away, without giving any explanation.
Yeah, well, again, if you use the 5 secrets in a clumsy way, it will irritate the boss just as it irritated your wife. But if you use the 5 secrets in a skillful way, then you'll have your boss eating out of your hand. And once again, if you give a specific example, what did the boss say and what did you say next? Then we can show you how to really turn that around.
Easier because maybe we can. Do a hypothetical one?
I would say let's wait till people send in their real examples, because we got a ton of fabulous questions.
Yeah, no, you're right. Let's move on to the next one. So this one here is from Jolie. And
Julie.
Jolie, Joli.
Joai?
Li.
Li. Oh, okay, yeah.
And
this one's a zinger, by the way.
Yeah. This is touching on your continual discrimination, David.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Jolie says, I'm very much enjoying and learning from these podcasts. What is really troubling me is that every example that Dr. Burns gives is of a female who is in the wrong, usually versus a male, her husband, who is right. This happens every episode. Sometimes it's just a female gone wrong, not versus anyone. I really wish he would mix this up. I get the feeling that he had a bad experience with females on this, or this is a male chauvinist thing. Please, not always women in the wrong. This really goes along with the current zeitgeist, I would say.
Yes, right. Well, this is a tremendously important email, Julie, and I very much agree with you. I probably had too many women examples and need more men. I might find out we just did a male example. Mm-hmm. And whoever comes to me with an issue, that person, I'll be showing them what they're doing wrong, what you're doing to perpetuate the problem. And if it's a man who comes to me, such as Eli in the last example, then we'll be looking at how he's screwing up the relationship. If it's a woman, we'll be looking at what she's doing to perpetuate the problem. But we want to be balanced here because the idea that men or women are primarily to blame for relationship problems is just total baloney. Men and women equally struggle with these things. And also it's important to have our own biases pointed out. It's sometimes kind of painful to see that we're leaning in this direction or that direction, but we want to serve all human beings and show respect for all human beings, and especially women. We want to show tremendous respect because the world, in my opinion, has this horrible, as Jolie points out, chauvinistic thing. All over the world, men are thinking that they own women, that they're better than women, that they can abuse women, and it's horrible.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there, and I'm glad that there's a lot of uprisings now that are trying to change this.
Can I give one more example of that?
Sure.
I don't know if I did this on a previous podcast. As I say, the more elderly and demented I get, the more forgetful I get, and I'm presenting all over the place.
Yes,
twice
you have a
every
better
week.
memory than I do. So
well, thanks for that. But I was presenting in San Antonio, Texas, an intensive workshop.
Yeah.
And this woman seemed to be a big fan, and I don't know what I was working on, but she was from Mexico. She was American, but had her roots and her origins in Mexico. And then I had people write questions that I would answer after the breaks. They'd hand them to me during the break. And then I got this one in the break, and that very woman who had said that, was so enthusiastic, said, I was so enthusiastic about you, but then when you were speaking, I saw that you're really anti-Mexican or type of something like that.
I knew that about you.
Yeah, something like that. And it was pretty stinging. And she said she was the head of some organization to improve, relationships, cross-cultural.
Yeah.
And I felt really deflated. In fact, it was a workshop on the 5 secrets of effective communication.
Okay.
And so I showed it in panic to one of the other people. I said, "Oh my gosh, I got this horrible comment. What should I do? I don't know what to do."
Like use the 5 secrets?
Yeah. Use the 5 secrets. Use the disarming technique, just exactly like you've been teaching us. I said, "Oh yeah, there's a good idea." So I read it out loud, and I said, "I'm so shocked to hear this, and I didn't even realize I was projecting some, anti-Mexican bias, anti-immigrant bias."
So you didn't agree with it?
No, I agree.
Because I didn't realize.
Well, I didn't realize I did that, but you're absolutely right, and it's painful to have these things pointed out, and so instead of defending myself, I just have to plead guilty as accused, and thank you for pointing that out, and I'm sure you're kind of pissed off at me, and for good reason, and I think we've all got to work together to defeat these biases.
So did you find reasons where that person was correct?
I couldn't remember. I can't remember now because it was years ago. But then I got a note from her at the next break. Yeah. And she said, "This is the most fantastic workshop I've ever been to." So, but again, the problem isn't that we screw up, but that we're ashamed and that we cover up and that we don't listen when people criticize us. So anyway, there's my comment to you, Jolie. My hat's off to you. You keep listening, and anytime you see David or Fabrice screwing up, you let us know.
Yeah. So this one here is from Tamara, and Tamara says, "I enjoyed this series. However, for you personally, could you address this on a higher relating scale? I suppose for myself this is somewhat of a low emoting and relating scale. I know you're trying to demonstrate in basics, and possibly a different podcast in the future for more evolved individuals would be really helpful. You're the master of this. I'm wondering if it is possible to address both audiences. Just a thought."
Yes, I give you 200% agreement. The first 5 podcasts were just attempted to be a very rudimentary, humble introduction to the 5 secrets. And there's a number of ways we can address what you said, but you want us to see how it works in action with really fine-tuning and sophisticated feedback, so you can really be using the 5 secrets in an elegant way. And I mentioned earlier that we're going to try to set up a live session with someone with a relationship problem so that you can see how the treatment actually works. The second thing is that, on my Sunday hikes, we're starting testing with some new recording equipment. And some of the folks have indicated a willingness to let their personal work on the Sunday hikes be broadcast on a podcast. So a second thing that I'm going to try to do is find a way to bring some of that material to you so that you can see really the fine points of, see the 5 secrets. That's like listening to a beautiful music by a top orchestra or something like that. And so I absolutely would love to do exactly what you're asking for tomorrow, and we'll attempt to do that, because we're clearly not done with the 5 secrets yet.
Yeah.
We're just really.
Yes, like we're scratching the surface, really.
Yeah.
Next here is from Rajesh.
I might mention that we get lots of great questions from Rajesh, and I often answer them. He'll make a comment on one of our podcasts or one of the blogs, and then I'll answer them typically right there. So they appear. The question, the answer appears on the website. But Rajesh asks really, really great questions. All these questions are good, but Rajesh is consistent in following our work. And
I think I recommend that people go to the show notes on feelinggood.com to see the discussions about each of the podcasts. Those two can be very enlightening.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. So Rajesh says, the 5 secrets are very good. I have tried them many times, but unfortunately did not have the motivation to continue, either because it didn't appear to me that I was being natural, or maybe it was not practical for me to continue. One such example was a few years back, while I was having a conversation with a demanding friend who, of course, had pointed out some faults in my behavior. And she was quite upset, and I said I understand how she felt. But that backfired, and she compared my action to some person who always agrees to what others say. Negative context. My question is it wise enough to speak up while someone is angry and usually in blaming mode? Everything you say or do, even with genuine intentions, might backfire due to their emotive behaving, thinking distortion. What is the right time to speak? Also, some of the things they say and do in distorted mode are not true at all, but they manage to push your buttons, and you may fail to give that genuine kind of empathy, or don't see any truth in what they said. They may even attack your esteem and unconsciously expect some response that you might not give, and further frustrate them.
Well, again, that's just a super terrific question. The answer is that if you don't use the 5 secrets in a skillful way, they're going to backfire. They're extremely powerful, but have to be done in a genuine manner. So when you had a demanding friend and you said, "I understand how you feel," that's actually one of the errors. In the 5 secrets, kind of formulaic empathy, as opposed to finding genuine truth in what they're saying, and sharing your feelings, acknowledging theirs. Stroking, showing some warmth and caring, and most importantly, seeing the truth and what they're saying to you. So that's the general question. Two other specific answers is, again, if you can write down exactly what the other person said and then what you said next. And if you can't remember it, you just kind of make something up. They said something like this. Put it down verbatim by just your best guess, and then exactly what you said next. And then we'll be able to show you exactly why your response wasn't effective. And then we can also role play it here live and show you how to respond more effectively. One other important theoretical thing that you said, which has fascinated me, really, I would have to say, for decades, Rajesh, is that cognitive individual therapy. That's kind of the approach that I've helped to develop and popularize through my book, Feeling Good, for individual mood problems like depression and anxiety, is all about how we fool ourselves with these 10 distortions that you referred to: all or nothing thinking, blame, self-blame, should statements, emotional reasoning, labeling, overgeneralization, mind reading, all of that kind of stuff. And that when you challenge your own distortions and see that your negative thoughts aren't true, you'll experience joy. Depression and anxiety are the world's oldest cons, and that's the whole basis of my book Feeling Good. And it's the whole basis of cognitive therapy, which really dates back, a couple thousand years or more. And it's an amazingly powerful technology. However, and this is a big however,
right.
when you interact with other people and they're angry with you, they'll be hitting you with those same cognitive distortions. They'll be saying, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, and you're a bum, and you're wrong, and it's all your fault.
Yeah.
So they're hitting you with blame, should statements, all or nothing thinking, labeling, all the exact same 10 distortions. But any attempt to correct those distortions will only make the fire escalate. It's like throwing gas on a fire. So those fantastic techniques that are so great to help us with our own mood problems will actually make relationship problems worse. And the solution to mood problems like depression and relationship problems where people are angry with each other, it's like matter and antimatter. And every principle that's true in cognitive therapy is false in interpersonal therapy.
Actually, I can see one that applies to both. Can you think of what technique I'm thinking about?
The disarming technique and the acceptance paradox.
The acceptance paradox, exactly, yes.
Yeah, that's the kind of bridge between these two universes. That was a cool point, and we won't bring that to life further now in the interest of time. But anyway, that's why I say Rajesh always asks the coolest questions.
Yeah.
And so thank you for that one, Rajesh. And send us some more examples of conflicts you've had and what the other person said and what you said next. And then this will become a real tutorial training type of thing that we're doing online rather than just answering questions in a general kind of way.
Now, might you want to say why saying a formulaic thing like, I understand how you feel, would be an error in the 5 secrets?
Well, I'm going to ask my brilliant colleague
I knew you were going to
address
say
that,
that.
and we'll work on it together. But no, it's a good point. I'll say something, and you can add to it. It's because it's in the first place, it's just formulaic.
Right.
You can just say,
I understand. It's like saying I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like saying I'm sorry. Oh, I understand how you feel, and the other person's probably angry and ticked off. And you're not acknowledging any of their emotions. There's no thought empathy. You didn't repeat their words.
Right.
There's no disarming. You're not seeing the truth in what they're saying. There's no I feel statements because you're not sharing your feelings.
Yeah, understanding is not a feeling. Yeah,
exactly. I got in a little conflict with my wife the other day. It's not common, but like all couples, we quibble a little bit. And she had walked into the kitchen. And I had turned on the tennis. I was just making lunch, and the TV was on, and it was the news. And I know she kind of is irritated by the news these days, as I am.
Sure.
And so I knew she loved this big tournament that's going on in Australia. So I turned on the tennis.
Yeah.
And just as she was walking in the room, I changed the channel. And I was tired of the news too. I said, I just turned on the tennis for you. And then she said, I've already seen that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm just feeling kind of hurt and put down right now. And then she really softened and opened up. But it was like sharing my feelings openly. But in the old days, I would have argued with her.
Yeah.
Say, oh, well, I put this on for you and you should be grateful.
Right, exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But these 5 secrets, although they're very simple and basic, they're very, very challenging. Anyway, that was my answer. Was it good enough? I think formulaic doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think that this expanded a little bit farther, but that's all for the richness of the podcast.
Yeah.
So I think we have time for at least one more. This is from Jonathan, who said, and this is kind of a long one where he actually gives specific examples. So we're gonna
another mail.
Go to town with this, and it's a mail, yes. I hope that I'm reaching out to you in a way that you are able to answer a question that I have. Okay. I'm not too familiar with the site, nor am I familiar with how to contact you. Okay, I could have skipped this. Anyway, I have a question regarding the A and EAR for assertiveness. How is it possible to know when it is a good time to let the person know they are doing something you do not like or even hurting you verbally? For example, a friend of mine is sometimes very judgmental towards me and tends to do things such as ignoring my feelings or blaming me. Sometimes they would say, "Man, you're so damn cheap." And my response was, "Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do get a little cheap and it's annoying for you, as I can tell, but I'm honestly feeling upset and annoyed when I'm judged by you like that. To be quite honest, I really don't like when you say stuff like that." And so Jonathan says, "Isn't my response still judgmental?" As Fabrice said, any "I feel" that is followed by the word "like" or that is seen as a judgment and will be responded with defensively. Or they will sometimes just ignore my phone calls or text messages, and I will say, "I really feel ignored and annoyed when you don't answer me or respond to me." Again, isn't my response a judgment or judgmental way of going about it?
Okay, well, this is what we're looking for. What did the other person say, and what did you say next? So let's zero in right here on your response.
Here, the first one you said was, "I can."
Sometimes I do get a little cheap, and it's annoying for you, as I can tell. But I'm honestly feeling upset and annoyed when I'm judged by you like that. To be quite honest, I really don't like when you say stuff like that. So this is a great first step. And I really applaud you, Jonathan, for trying to respond more effectively. And I would give you
I would say 99% of people don't even have that level of skills.
Exactly. And I would give you kind of a B or a B minus on this, because it's definitely moving in the right direction. You're doing some things right, but there are some ways we could improve it a great deal. Toward the end, when you say, "I really don't like it when you say stuff like that," the problem here is you're punishing the other person for opening up to you, and you're kind of telling them, "Don't talk to me like that. Don't tell me how you feel," and that will tend to shut the other person down.
Do you mind if we spend a little bit of time on this particular piece?
Sure.
Because he is it's a form of "I feel."
Yeah.
So how is that incorrect?
I guess a better question is, how can we tune it up to improve it?
Okay, yeah. So how would change? Keep the meaning, but change that in a way that is well received.
Yeah. You want to maybe share your feelings and use some stroking, and also acknowledge the other person's feelings. Those three pieces are kind of missing here. So we could be saying something like, just to redo your response, "You're right. Sometimes I do get a little cheap, and I can see it seems like that's pretty annoying for you. I'm feeling kind of hurt and judged a little bit right now, but I know there's a lot of truth in what you're saying, and it's particularly painful for me because you're a friend, and I value our relationship tremendously. And as hard as it is, to hear what you're saying, maybe we can talk about it and deepen our relationship. Can you tell me more about how my cheapness is coming across to you? Maybe it looks like it's all about me, and that I haven't been generous with you and treated you like a friend. Can you tell me more about that? I really want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So it sounds like the way you rephrase what he said at the end of his response was, "I'm feeling a little bit hurt right now," and without necessarily accusing the other person
or censuring them, attempting to tell them to don't say that anymore.
Yeah. So what you added that's not present in Jonathan's response is that first you did a lot of stroking. By saying that you value him as a friend, but also you invited more.
Yes,
because when you say, "I don't like when you say things like that," it kind of shuts the discussion.
Exactly.
But instead, you did an invitation. I want to hear more. I'm so sorry that this is coming in between us, but please tell me more, because I really want this to help us bridge the gap rather than create a separation.
Yeah, I give that an A there too. That sounds excellent. And you said that Jonathan could benefit by including stroking, because even in the heat of battle, we need to know that we're liked by the other person, even when we're ticked off at each other. And you said to add inquiry, and inquiry could be the last technique. Tell me more about that. I want to know how you're feeling. How have I been coming across? What other things have I done or said that have ticked you off? And then again, I feel can be modified, as you pointed out, to just I'm feeling kind of hurt and put down right now. But then instead of defending yourself, then you add disarming. But I know there's truth in what you have to say.
Yeah.
And I do get a little cheap sometimes, and I guess that's can be irritating. I haven't been thinking about that. Tell me about it. So.
Yeah.
Also, this kind of exchange that we just had, this is more like what we do in sessions or on the Sunday hikes, and then we would be doing role reversals back and forth.
Yeah.
Because when we model it, then typically Jonathan, if he were here, he would say, "Oh, that's great. I like what you and Fabrice or the way you're doing it." Then I'd say, "Let's do a role reversal now."
You try it now, yeah,
and see if you can do it. And then I would become your friend and just say, "Man, you're so damn cheap," and then let the other person try it, and then you probably improve, but still not get an A. And you should expect to do role reversals back and forth maybe 5 or 10 times on a specific example like this before you get up to the A. And then once you've got an A in a role play, then you can try it with your actual friend. And that's how you learn the 5 secrets.
That was fantastic, because we really had the word-for-word response that he gave, and that really allowed us to develop on this. So I really encourage our listeners to do the same when they want a good answer from us about how to implement the 5 secrets.
Now, I have one last complaint here.
Are you complaining?
Yeah, we've had 4 examples of people today with relationship problems.
Yeah.
And 3/4 of them were men. So we've got to balance it up next time.
We need more women.
We're always showing it's the men's in the wrong.
Okay.
So anyway, thanks. Again, welcome back, Fabrice. Thank all of you for your fabulous support of our efforts. It means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to Fabrice too.
Yeah, so keep sending your questions. Give us specifics as opposed to general questions. And please tell your friends. Don't forget to leave reviews on iTunes and all that good stuff. See you next week. This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes for this podcast under the blog page, and where you can leave your comments and questions. The website has an abundance of resources for therapists as well as non-therapists, including books, workshops, a list of online training groups around the world, and much more. Theme music is Gypsy Jazz in Paris, 1935, composed and performed by Brett Van Donsel. I am your host, Fabrice Nye, and I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.